cry. And she was so confused because she's like, Uzurie, calm down. And I'm like, I can't because I can't afford to fail.
Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Today we are having a sit down video continuing the nursing school series, but this video is really real and I didn't want to come in the whole formal setting, so let's get straight into it. Before we begin, I'm asking you all to subscribe to my channel. We're on the road to 300 subscribers. I thank you all for subscribing so far. Listen, when you subscribe, I get more views. When I get more views, I can monetize, and when I monetize, I can provide more quality content, you know, upgrade my studio space. I can upgrade the things that I'm gonna present to you. I can do hauls, I can do so much more, and I'll get deals and endorsements so we can have quality content, guys. So subscribe, like the video, and share it. So that's all I'm asking you guys to do, and ensure you watch it till the end. We spoke about year 1 and 2, and now we're going to talk about the last 2 years of nursing school, which I believe are the hardest. So year 3, you do a lot of theory as it pertains to specialized areas like main operating theater, accidents and emergency, ICU, pediatrics, mental health, right? So those are specialized areas. You do a lot of theory relating to that, and you do visit these areas, right, throughout that theoretical aspect. So in year 3, it's theory and practical mostly, but it's geared towards specialized nursing. That's for UTech, and I do believe a lot of other schools do something like this, not too far off. Now we're gonna talk about year 4. Year 4 is your full hospital exposure, meaning you go to majority if not all areas of the hospital: accidents and emergency, main operating theater, the recovery room, pediatrics, mental health. You go everywhere to be exposed to every single specialty, because really and truly not everyone will be a medical surgical nurse only. Some persons may want to be a midwife, some persons want to be accidents and emergency trained, some persons want to be ICU trained. So they expose you to these areas so you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into. Now these are my personal experiences that I can remember from these areas. So when I went to ICU, I liked it because it's one-to-one nursing. However, you have to prepare yourself for death because these are really sick patients. You have to have the strength to speak to the family, you know, when they come to you and they say, "Nurse, how did they do today?" It's a bit hard because sometimes you do know that these patients are dying, and sometimes the family is so hopeful and you don't want to kill their bit of hope. So it's a very, you have to be strong to work in ICU. That is my opinion based on my experience. If you think otherwise, that's fine, but that's what I believe. I love pediatrics because of the babies, you know. This part may seem minimal, but what I really liked, you know, after the baby is born, and sometimes you have the mom depending on which area of pediatrics you're in, and you have the baby, sometimes the baby crying and the mom just needs a little break, and you as a nurse will take the baby, walk around the baby, hush the baby. You know, I love that experience. I love babies. One day I'll have my own. But seriously though, pediatrics is not for the weak, because I know some persons say they couldn't do it because if they see a sick baby, they're going to feel so sad, you know, and they might grow attachments and so forth. It does happen, but you know, you have to really separate your feelings from your work. When I went to the operating theater, that was quite the experience. I got to witness a surgery happening. Now, what stood out to me was the smell of burning fats. Like, they burn away your fats to get inside of you after they made the incision, and I'm telling you, that smell, it's not like pungent and overly overbearing, but it's new, you know. That's what I remember. And you stand up for a long period of time. Operating theater is not for me because it's so cold. It is cold, it is cold, and it's not like you can put on multiple jackets because it's a very sterile environment, so you have to keep it really simple. But it's not for me. But it's actually exciting because you get to see, so after you see the medical issue with the patients, if it cannot be medically managed, then you go surgery. You know, you get to actually see the surgery. It's really interesting. Operating theater is interesting, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot and you get to see it. So before, you would look in a textbook and you'd see a diagram, but you get to see it in living color. you get to see inside of persons' bodies. It's really interesting if you are interested in that type of a thing. The area that I thought that I would have been in, nobody, as a student, nobody could have told me that I would not have been an accident and emergency trained nurse. Nobody. I loved A&E. I loved working in triage, where patients came in and you decided, is it emergency right now, or can they wait a little bit? You have to triage patients, right? And I loved A&E. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. It was everything to me. But unfortunately, I don't want to be an A&E nurse anymore because reality hit. And remember, as a student, things are completely different from when you are an actual registered nurse and you have to make your own decisions. Okay guys, when you're a student, you have to consult the RN. You are the RN. Okay, so A&E is very fast paced. You don't see the same patients every single day over and over again unless they have an extended stay due to lack of space in the actual units or wards at the hospital. But A&E is not for the weak, but it is exciting. I still think it is exciting. I went to the labor ward. This is where mothers have children, and I saw my first vaginal birth. So you can have a vaginal birth and you can have a C-section. I saw a C-section. It was, let's just say it was a young person. I don't think the mother was 16 years old, and it was a bit scary, you know. I wanted to cry, I'm not gonna lie, because she was so scared and it made me scared. But the vaginal birth traumatized me because the mother had an ineffective push, meaning no matter how hard she pushed, that baby would not come out. And there are a bit of complications, but you know, the baby was okay in the end, mommy was okay in the end, and I saw an episiotomy. Listen, the sister on the ward said to me, I bet you don't want to have kids anymore. And I said, hell no. And she said to me, don't
worry, when 6 weeks here, I could change your mind.
She said that. I found it funny, but I'm over it now. But like, I'm just remembering the fresh trauma from seeing that vaginal birth and the episiotomy. But you know, it's so beautiful when the baby came out, and then the pediatrician said the baby, you know, test to see if the baby was okay, and baby was fine. It was just so sweet. It was worth it. It was rewarding, but trauma, guys, trauma. Guys, it's raining. Like, I have to go inside. Like, I wanted to stay out here because you know it's comfortable, but I gotta go because after a while you won't be able to hear me, so I have to go. Guys. Like, I'm just so sad because I'm having so much fun telling you guys about my experience, but this is reality, guys. This is what YouTubers have to go through sometimes if we don't have a studio space and stuff. So that's why I said subscribe so we can get a studio space so we don't have to do this anymore. I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we're back inside and we're going to continue. So sorry for the boring background, but you know, it's growth and it's progress and we will get better. Just remember to subscribe. So in final year, you do an exam called span of duty exam. This is the physical aspect of nursing where you actually practice hands-on care, right? Not just written care, hands-on care, and a little bit of written because you write your nurse's notes and you do your nursing care plan. Now this exam causes a lot of stress and anxiety for nursing students every single year. Like, I don't know anybody who didn't feel scared or overwhelmed or had anxiety or who was stressed when it was time for them to do this particular exam. If they say that they weren't, well, that's great for them, but for a majority, we're nervous. We're a nervous wreck, and I'm gonna tell you my story. So this is my year 4 story. So at the beginning of year 4, from August to December, we were wrapping up the bits of theory left for nursing school. So for the rest of nursing school, it should be from January to about June, we would only be in the hospital, right? So we did that, and Christmas holiday came, we were fine, and then January came and we started our specialized rotation where we went to ICU, operating theater, all those places. And I went to ICU first, it was great, and then I went to accidents and emergency, loved it, and then I went to the medical ward to do my medical rotation. And the first COVID patient came to Jamaica and we were told that we should leave the hospital because it was new to the country, it was new to the world, and they had to figure out how they're going to deal with it while keeping us safe. So we had to go home. We were home for months. I think we returned to the clinical space in about August or September. We were home for months, and we went home in March. And that was crazy because normally you'd be practicing as I told you for this exam, practicing care plans, you'd be practicing your nursing assessments on patients, and then you would be ready for your exam. But we were out for months, and we had about a month and a half to prepare when we would have normally had like about 4 months, I think. Listen. Oh my god, it was like when we went back, for me personally, I was so scared that it's almost like I forgot how to be a nurse. It's like I had to try and refresh myself on how to write nurses notes, care plan writing, everything. It was just so much, because sometimes when you're not doing something consistently, you tend to forget, or it's in that far place back in your mind. It was awful. It was so awful. Like, I won't even lie. But we understood it was a pandemic, and really and truly, we didn't want to get COVID. We didn't want to get sick. So we had to work with our school. We had to work with the hospital. It was so bad that when we went back, they would only allow 4th year students in a hospital. Like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, they were allowing them in the hospital at the time because they wanted to ensure everybody was safe. And really and truly, they needed the 4th year students to finish school, because we would be the ones who are going to work in a few months in a hospital, and they're going to need staff, because nurses, we have mass migration in Jamaica of nurses. So really and truly, they could not have kept us home any longer. So these are the challenges I had. So for exam, because of COVID and us being out so long, we normally have 3 patients, and for us they cut it down to 2 patients for your exam that you had to give total patient care to. Now, on top of us not having 3 patients, it was difficult to find those 2 patients, because they had to be a certain category of patients, and you don't take a category 4 patient. It's a patient that can't do anything for themselves. They can't talk, they can't feed themselves, they can't bathe themselves, they can't do anything. Sometimes they don't even move, sometimes they don't even open their eyes. You don't take these patients for exams, but these were the only patients who were in the hospital. The day before the exam, so what was happening is that the hospital filtered the patients. So when they came from A&E, they got swabbed, and then you had a holding ward where they waited for patients to get their positive or negative COVID test. If it's positive, you go to the COVID ward. If it's negative, you go elsewhere, right? And I was on a ward. We couldn't be on those wards, of course, because COVID, hello. And then we were on like medical wards and surgical wards, so we had to wait for patients to test negative to come on our wards, and that was not happening fast enough, because the government had said only emergency, or if you're having a serious emergency, you should come to the hospital, otherwise you go to your regular doctor. So surgeries were cancelled, or postponed rather. Patients weren't really coming to the hospital, so we didn't have a lot of patients basically, so it made it that much harder, and I was stressed out, because up to the day before my exam, a patient got admitted to the ward, and I got her as my patient, and then no one else came, and the other patients were category 4. They were flat, what we call flat, meaning they couldn't talk, they couldn't do anything, they didn't even open their eyes. So I had to take one of those patients on my exam. Now, what I did was practice teamwork. There were nursing students from other schools that were there, and I asked for help, and I asked the RN on the ward for help. So if I needed patients to be turned, I asked them to turn in patients, because sometimes they do 2-hourly turning, because remember, the patient can't do anything, and you don't want them to stay on their back or their side for too long. So I had to ask for help, and if any of you are watching this video right now, big up, thank you so much. If it wasn't for your help in any little way, even if you just passed me a nurse's notes, thanks, because I did nervous. So let's talk about the morning of the exam. So the morning of the exam, I got there from about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I started to do my assessments and everything. Now, my clinical coordinator, big up yourself, Miss Maggie, big up yourself, like, I have so much respect for you. The morning of my exam, she came with our exam papers, and she said the exam is about to start. And when she said that, I started crying. No, I cried, and she was so confused because she's like, Uzurie, calm down. And I'm like, I can't because I can't afford to fail. I was nervous because the stakes were higher. Normally you have 3 tries, and after you can fail once and then do it again and then do it again until you pass 3 tries, and then you would do your written exam. Now, because of COVID and them cutting down the time, if you fail on your first attempt, you'd have to wait until the following year to do your written exam. But if you pass, you could do your written exam 2 months or like a month after the practical exam. So the stakes are higher, and I was just nervous. Oh my god, I was just nervous, and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And she said to me, okay, let's pray. And my friend Shida, that you've seen in previous videos, she did exams with me also, and she held her hands and she started praying. And I'm telling you, listen, you see, when I say pray, when you're overwhelmed, pray. When you're happy, pray. When you're sad, pray. When you have anxiety, pray. It's when she finished praying, I was so calm. It's like I found newfound peace. I was at peace, and I was like, all right, so let's go and do this exam and get it over with. And she prayed for me, and I calmed down a bit, and I did my exam. Exam in and of itself was not bad. I remember about getting ready to do my medication administration skill, and my examiners came to me and said, are you ready? And I said no. And they said, why? And I said, I'm so nervous. I was trembling, I was just scared. And they said to me, don't let your nervousness overpower your skills. So they said, it's okay to be nervous, but remember what you're supposed to do. And I took a deep breath, and I went and I did my medication administration skill. It was just crazy, guys. And I cried. Listen, when the exam was over, I was just so happy to be done with it. Like, I never cared about the results. Yes, it was like that. I just wanted it to be over with. I never cared about the results. I mean, of course, I hope that I passed, but I just never cared because I just wanted to leave the hospital. When, after waiting maybe about an hour to 2 hours for the examiners to mark the papers and to, you know, tally everything, I got a call to go to the ward classroom, and I did. And they called me and they said to me, what do you want to hear? And I said, I want to hear that I passed. And they said, yes, you passed. And I said, really? And they said, yes. Listen, I never care what percentage. Right now, I don't even know what percentage I passed with. I never care what percentage I passed with. I never care. Nobody never ever said. I was just happy to pass my exam, and I did, and to God be the glory. Here are my tips for the span of duty exam, because believe me, if this video don't mean nothing to you now, when you get to that stage, it's gonna mean everything to you. So here are my tips for doing your span of duty exam. 1, prepare. Preparation is very important. Ensure that you're practicing medication administration with the correct steps with your registered nurse on your ward. If the nurse is not available, practice with your friends. 2, ensure that you're practicing your dressings and ensure that you maintain sterility. Now, dressings can create a lot of anxiety because you have to be very sterile, because it's a very, very sterile procedure. You don't want to introduce bacteria into the patient's wounds or any of the things that you're using. So you have to be very, very sterile. Now, the checklist gives you steps that you can use, but sometimes you might have to tweak it depending on the resources that your hospital has, but you can always maintain sterility. It doesn't matter if you don't have the best dressing set, you can maintain sterility. Make sure you practice. That's basically it. Practice. Tip number 2, familiarize yourself with the data sheet. Now, the data sheet gets the patient's name, age, family background, history, social history, whether they drink, they smoke, a lot of things. And some of these things are not in the patient's docket. Sometimes you have to ask the relatives, sometimes you have to ask the patient themselves. You get information from any credible source, and this data sheet is very important, because if you leave it blank, you will fail your exam, period. Because what this tells your examiner is you're caring for a patient that you know absolutely nothing about, and that cannot work. You need to know everything. So make sure you know that data sheet, because listen, I knew so many of my colleagues that left even a section of that paper blank and they failed the exam. Make sure you fill out all of it. It's very important. Normally your schools give you a copy of it so you can familiarize yourself with it. Practice using it. Ask questions. Now, Sometimes nurses may not be familiar with the new changes that Nursing Council has made to this exam. So I would say any question you have, ask your preceptor. Call them. If there's a dressing that you're not sure how to clean, because there's a particular way that you clean dressings, ask your RN, but also ask your preceptor, because your preceptor is in the system, and sometimes that very same preceptor may be the one to assist with marking your exam. So ask your preceptor questions. Care plans, care plans, care plans. And I am stressing this because I don't know one nurse that loves writing care plans. If you're one, nice to meet you, but I don't know a nurse that loves to write care plans. Make sure you practice your care plans. Ask for help with writing your care plans. Don't assume that you know, because sometimes when you think you know, you don't know. Guys, ensure that you know how to write your care plans, because this is very important, because this tells your preceptor or your examiner how you are caring for your patient. What is the plan? What issue have you identified, and how are you going to assist to solve it, or to make it better, or to improve it, or to let it stay the same? For example, not letting a patient get an infection by the end of your shift, for example. So they may not have an infection, but they're at risk for it, so you're trying to keep them away from getting it. So ensure you practice your care plans. So guys, that is the end of episode 3. I am enjoying this series because I've always wanted to share my nursing journey and things that I think would help nursing students to, you know, be better at their exam. But I've always been so scared. I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but I've just been scared. But I hope that this video is helpful to a nursing student or an aspiring nursing student. If you have questions, you can message me on Instagram at uzurie. Link will be in the description box. Or you can message me on Facebook, or you can send me an email at uzurie.youtube@gmail.com. I get emails from you guys all the time. I've gotten DMs on Instagram, and I assist in any way I can, guys. I am here for you, so just ask, and if I don't know, I'll ask and find out the information for you, because information is free, guys. So like, why do we need to keep it from other persons? So thank you for tuning in. If you like this video, like it, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe, and stay tuned next week Monday for the other episode. The series is coming to an end, but I have some tips and, you know, little things that you can use after you leave nursing school, because I call that period limbo. Like, nobody really tells you what to do after you leave nursing school, like what steps to take to getting a job. Nobody will really tell you, so I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Bye guys.